Hello. Now you're probably wondering why we would even add such a title in the video that says why actually learning and trying to read is actually making you dumber. But what I want you to understand is that it's not really the learning that makes a person more intelligent. It's our ability to make the most use out of the information we come to learn. But unfortunately, if we actually just try to do our research and actually look around in how to become more intelligent, a lot of what people think of intelligence is either having a high degree of education or being essentially as smart as that is able to bring out all the unnecessary details within a conversation that will just make the person look really knowledgeable. But here we have to make a crucial distinction is that knowledge is not intelligence. We can know a lot, but this doesn't mean that we are able to do things well. In fact, knowing too much and having way too much information we put on inside of ourselves on a day-to-day basis, it actually makes us incapable of doing the work in of itself because of analysis paralysis. Now think of it this way. Let's say you have every day a limited amount of cognitive capacity that you can use before your mind actually tires down and is not able either to focus, to consume information, or even to memorize further information for the learning. Because our cognitive capacities are in this way limited, consider how it would be to put in a lot of information within our mind that actually doesn't bring us forward. In fact, an analogy that we can use is actually a similar way to food. Food to the body is what information is essentially for the mind. If you put in a lot of unhealthy foods that seem first really pleasurable and entertaining but don't bring us forward, it will actually make us more dull. We will be not able to consume more of those healthy foods because we already feel not only so full, but because of our cognitive capacities are already used up for mindless things that actually don't improve our position for life or don't make that much sense to actually know at this point in time. We actually limit our capacity not only to act on our work, but actually to enjoy life overall. If we are being honest right now, there are probably a lot of more things that we don't know than the things that we actually know. And because we can know everything and we cannot spend the entire day just studying a subject without putting any effort into the goals, that reason why we come to study those things in the first place, we will largely not be able to move the needle forward and become more intelligent and competent in the practice. And so what I want to actually help you with this video is actually teach you how to turn knowledge into actual intelligence, into actual competence in how we come to do the work. But we have to realize is that we cannot really do the process if we don't learn how to prioritize information. Watching 3 hours of TikTok can be also just much considered as, for example, studying a book that will actually improve your chances of moving towards a goal. If we learn that not all information is created equal, we can also learn to prioritize information and the input that will bring us forward. Now in this video I will hope to actually guide you through the process on how to decide on which information is crucial for yourself and which information is not. And by arming ourselves with all the input that we think is the most necessary, I think in the end we will actually be able to be more likely to achieve our goals and live the life that we want. By understanding that not all information is equal, we actually have to understand what makes information not equal in the first place. Now, when I was 14, it was actually the time when I personally got, for example, interested into reading, for example, philosophy. And the first book that I actually read when I was 13 would be actually Beyond Good and Evil by Friedrich Nietzsche. Now, what this actually has to do with the main point is actually the following. If I'm going to give 100 people the same book to read, the information that people are going to learn from this book won't be the same for every single person. This book will be more interesting and they will, for example, take something out within their personal life that they can use this book for. Other people will not find it really valuable because of the past experiences. This book doesn't add any relevancy. In fact, what makes information relevant is either the experience that people went through or also the current life situation, which you think, okay, this book is going to solve this aspect. But even if we actually would put the experiment and 13-year-old me would read Friedrich Nietzsche and 18-year-old me, which is right now, would read Friedrich Nietzsche, In fact, the information and the input that we get and the value that we get from this book will be largely a different one. And this is where we actually have to look at the current life situation that surrounds us. If you have more experience, then our ability to make sense out of a text will be largely different than if our experience is in of itself narrow. And so if we want to improve our capacity for how we process information and actually make it more qualitatively valuable, it's not enough to improve the study method, which a lot of the people that teach about learning actually try to recommend you to do. It's actually about widening a horizon of experience that enables us to process information differently. If we have a reason, like a goal, that drives a person to look deeper into a book, then we will have a completely different relationship. We would have a completely different context from that we could make sense of this book. And this is also actually what enables also high processing and highly effective studying methods. I'm not sure who created actually this triangle for, but there's like Justin Sung, probably one of those content creators that teach people about learning. And it's actually the ability not to memorize information which creates the most amount of learning, but also actually to create connections, to compare information, to work with the information, or to create something new. I'm not sure who created this triangle, but the main point is essentially this: the more you can actually work with the information, the better you will be able to learn it. But you can't properly work with information if you lack the experience in of itself that makes the information make sense. And so, in order to decide on what information is the most valuable, we actually have to look at the position where we want to be in life. And one of the most simplest ways is actually to look at our goals. Now, I don't know which goals you come to have or which goals you come not to have, but a question that you can actually ask yourself is that, what is the information that's the most crucial for me to know right now that would bring my life forward? Or to be more concise, what information will help me reach my goals and be in the position of life that I want to be? By actually prioritizing the information that is valuable, we can actually get rid of all the content and distractions that are not valuable. In fact, an even better way to do it is actually not to look at the goals, but at the problems that we currently have in life. I made a video about goal setting and how to actually use problem solving to actually limit the hindrances that we come to encounter while we pursue a goal, so you may check out the video. But essentially it's this: the better you understand your goals depends on how well you understand the problems that you encounter along the way of pursuing a goal. And so the deeper you understand a problem, the better you will be on deciding what information will be the most valuable and most relevant for you. You know the main idea of selective ignorance and how to use learning to actually improve our life. Now let's put it actually into practice and how we can actually integrate it into our daily life. Now, my main form of consuming information is essentially through reading books, and the way I can actually decide on what books to read is actually by not improving your reading method, by improving your problem solving method. And so essentially in my case, my problem solving is in this case connected to the information that I'm reading. The first step will be always on deciding on the problem. If you always have a problem that you work from, all your reading will be essentially put into context. This will make the reading actually more productive because you know how you will apply it and how it will actually have an impact on your life. But second of all, the less you prioritize your consumption and the more you prioritize your processing skills, the better you will be not only at solving problems but in dealing with information overall. This will actually, in fact, increase your competence, which may seem really counterintuitive at first. You should actually get the hang of it. Like, the more we use information, the better we will ingrain it. And so it's not only growth in theory. In fact, practice leads to theoretical growth. If you want to learn something, we don't focus on the theory. We focus on the practice, because practice creates the theory. The theory makes sense in the first place. It may seem a little confusing at the beginning. This should be also mostly about it. You decide on what information will be the most valuable for you, usually by using goals and problems. And then you actually integrate it by integrating problem solving into your reading strategy. If you make problem solving the main thing over the consumption, you will actually get the most use out of reading. Reading in of itself is not valuable if it's not applied to problem solving. This is essentially the main message of this video. Bye.